Hi there, this is Matt Wakeling from Sydney, Australia, and you're listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. Now today we speak to Drew Roller, a Melbourne guitarist and filmmaker who has just produced the incredible documentary Acoustic Uprising. Drew travelled the world speaking to some of the world's foremost modern acoustic guitar masters, including Kaki King, Newton Faulkner, our own Tommy Emmanuel, and Andy McKee, just to name a couple of the incredible world-class musicians featured in this film. Now, before the interview, I had seen the trailers for the film, which looked absolutely incredible. Since the interview, I've seen the whole film, and it is breathtaking. It is so well produced. It's such an exciting film. Now, it's a pretty exciting time too for Drew himself, because the film has had its international premiere in Austria. It's also had its UK premiere. Coming up, there will be premieres in Canada and the US and Australia. Now, I'm very proud to announce that we as in the Guitar Speak podcast, will be involved in the Sydney premiere event, which is happening as part of the Sydney Guitar Festival. Now, this film screening, you'll find out more about it during my interview with Drew, but it's not just the film premiere, which in itself is awesome, but it's an event with performances, a live Q&A, and much, much more. All right, now before we get to the interview with Drew, I want you to hear one of the trailers. It's obviously audio only, but it still gives you the whole idea of the scope of the film. So some of the voices you'll hear are the names I mentioned earlier: Newton Faulkner, Tommy Emmanuel, Andy McKee, and Kaki King. Check it out.
The fundamental principle is to try and make as much noise as possible with one instrument.
We're not trying to just strum chords and sing, kind of. We're trying to have a complete piece of music on the steel string acoustic guitar.
With the acoustic, I am the band.
The acoustic guitar has found its way into almost every musical tradition in the world. It's a shapeshifter.
This is a little orchestra with the bass and the melody and the percussive elements.
The harmonics, which are really just like these light beams of sound, just like flying up into the heavens.
We're seeing this huge explosion of everyone trying to explore the guitar. It's because of certain pioneers in the guitar's past that we are now seeing this range that we never saw before.
It's a very haptic experience playing the guitar. It pulses against your chest, it breathes, the sound holes right over your heart.
Drew Roller, welcome to the Guitar Speak podcast.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Great to have you, Drew. I'm really excited to speak to you about your fantastic film, Acoustic Uprising. Now, we'll definitely get to that, but about yourself, what's your background in music and filmmaking?
Okay, so I'm 41, so I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm still as passionate as I used to be about guitar, clearly, because I'm making documentaries about them. Awesome. But I started playing guitar much like many young boys in the early 90s or late 80s. I wanted to be in a hair metal band. I wanted to play like Metallica, and I wanted to have the audience adoring my rock wizardry.
Awesome. I hear you loud and clear.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes. Yes. So over the years, that I've sort of grinded off the edges of that into now being very much an acoustic solo artist. Okay. So that's my musical side. My professional side, I'm a software designer. So I've got a successful career in software and design, and that sort of exercises that creative muscle all the time. And then, the guitar is really sort of the passion project on the side, which tends to get a bit neglected these days.
Well, it seems like you've really combined those interests in producing this documentary. When did the inspiration to create this film strike you?
Well, it's actually sort of the core of the story is the inspirational impact this music tends to have on people. I remember the day I was on the train platform Richmond Station in Melbourne. If you're a Melbourne person, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a cold winter's morning, and my guitar buddy sent me a YouTube video. And this was back in the day when YouTube videos were, there's probably more Facebook video these days, but this YouTube video was a video called Passionflower by an artist, John Gomm.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, definitely.
You are? So it's pretty breathtaking stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and so that video sort of encompasses this style, the holistic approach to the guitar, using it as an instrument, percussive instrument, using the sort of textures of the wood and scratching it and tapping the neck, and just that sort of multi-armed approach that John Gomm encapsulates in that song. It was just breathtaking, and I was instantly hooked.
Uh-huh.
And that really was the trigger for all of this.
So with your own playing, did you try and incorporate some of those techniques?
Yes. I mean, I've told this story a lot, but that video made me want to give up, throw my guitar in the bin. Yeah. And then, 2 hours later, I picked it up and practiced harder than I ever had before to try and take my guitar playing to the next level.
Okay. Yep.
It really felt like I'd seen the ceiling had just become the floor, and my whole interpretation of guitar had just changed overnight. It was one of those key moments, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do with the film, is to share that inspirational moment.
So the film. So when do you start thinking, okay, I'm gonna do a documentary on this style and chase up some of the key figures in the world?
Yeah. Well, I think it was maybe 6-12 months of just absorbing YouTube videos of just, I'd be at work watching YouTube videos of these guys tapping and scratching and playing their guitars in all these unusual ways. I wanted more. I wanted to learn more, and there wasn't a way to learn more. So I sort of had this light bulb moment. There needed to be a documentary, and maybe you could crowdfund a documentary about this style of playing. Maybe there's an appetite out there. There was definitely an appetite for the videos, as
for sure.
Some of the bigger names like Andy McKee and John Gomm were having quite big viral success with the videos.
Yeah.
So there was definitely an audience out there, and it was just a matter of using the modern digital social technologies to tap into that audience. And that led me to starting the crowdfunding campaign in 2015.
2015. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was going to ask when it grew legs. Fantastic.
Well,
and then
Sorry, I was just going to say 2014 I had the idea.
Yeah.
I was working on that with a friend of mine who also plays percussive fingerstyle, Mark Fisher, who's in Melbourne, guitarist, incredible player. So we developed the idea, and in March 2015 went live with the Kickstarter campaign.
Okay, great. And from the very outset, did you know you wanted to travel the world to find these amazing players?
It's really hard making a documentary as an Australian.
Uh-huh.
That's what I've found out along the way, is that a lot of these guys are in the UK and the US.
Yeah.
So having to travel so far is expensive. Obviously, it's time consuming.
Yeah.
And it also limits you in terms of the access that you do have.
Sure.
It's like you have to get the interview, you have to nail it there and then. So look, we traveled around the world a couple of times, and we didn't really intend to do that. So it was a bit of a surprise, and that we were successful, I think, in the first place. So we were a little naive getting into it, to be honest, but it was a really great, fun ride.
Wow, that's cool. Did you did you establish contact with the players first? Did you just rock up at gigs? How did you pin these people down?
So it was a gradual step-by-step process. The first thing we did was we kind of went to the mecca of fingerstyle in Europe, which is the Thomas Lee Boot Camp, and that's featured in the film. Now, I don't know if you've heard of the Thomas Lee Boot Camp, but it's basically a pilgrimage that fingerstyle guitarists from all around the world go on each year to go and congregate and to learn guitar from the masters of the art of fingerstyle You know, this year, on Tuesday, this week was the premiere of the film at the boot camp, and there was John Gomm, Thomas Lieb, who is the Austrian, the guy who runs the camp, who is also one of the original pioneers of the movement, and there was Stuart Ryan, who's a more of a Celtic traditional fingerstyle player. But those three guys are they're the Jedi masters of fingerstyle for this year's boot camp.
Wow.
So that is kind of we secured access to that through Thomas Lieb, and once we did that, we were able to get access to the teachers and the community there. And captured this amazing scenic backdrop in the Austrian Alps.
Oh, mate, there are parts of this in the main trailer, I believe, and the cinematography is breathtaking. It's just incredible.
Yeah, well, not too bad for an amateur guy. we were lucky, and we had some good advisory help from a trained cinematographer. But a majority of the work that we have in the film is pretty much a couple of newbie guys with fairly low budget gear. So we're happy. We're really happy with the result.
Oh, mate, it is shot so beautifully. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Awesome. So you're at the. I'll get to the premiere in a moment because I definitely want to. Man, you must be just buzzing right now about that. But
we are. I am pinging around at the moment, all over the place. We've got a lot going on for sure.
Yeah, full on. So so you get in contact with those guys. There's also players like Tommy Emmanuel, our own Tommy Emmanuel.
That's correct.
Kaki King, who's just fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean that was the fun part of this, was actually seeing it grow too over time. Once we set up, the boot camp, we built that relationship, and we were able to collect those voices and those people for the interviews. And then we slowly saw people come along. We actually went to Canadian Guitar Festival as well after the boot camp in 2015. So we caught up with a bunch of other players like Don Ross, Callum Graham, and Manelli Jamal over there. And so once we started getting more and more, we started to find people started to gravitate toward the project, which was great. When people like Kaki King and Newton Faulkner want to be involved, it was fantastic.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, we didn't really miss anyone. There's maybe a few people we would have liked to have gotten to, but we're really happy with the amount of people we're able to squeeze into the film.
Fantastic, man. Awesome. What were some highlights from that travel? I mean, it just sounds like you've had the best 2 years of your life by the sounds of things. But
it has been, I would say, the best experience of my life, getting to meet some of my absolute heroes and become friends with them over time. It's been amazing. That is probably the highlight, is that I can call some of the best guitarists on the planet my friend. That's amazing to me, right?
That's incredible, man.
So, yeah, the boot camp, in Austria is amazing and has to be the highlight. When you see it in the film, just the beauty of the Alpine region there, it's such a great sort of backdrop to the beauty of these solo acoustic virtuosos, just sort of coming together in this amazing scenic backdrop. So there's so many highlights. I really don't know, but the boot camp is the obvious one, just because of the sheer beauty.
Awesome, man. That's cool. Tommy Emmanuel lives in Nashville a lot of the year when he's not on the road. Where did you actually pin him down to have a conversation? So
we're lucky in that Andy McKee and Tommy Emmanuel share management.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So once we got Andy on board, because Andy is a pretty integral part of the sort of new modern acoustic guitar story, with his massive success with drifting on YouTube.
Yes. Yep.
That's kind of one of the set pieces in the film. We explore how that happened, the events leading up to that, and the change that it's had on Andy's life. So Andy's management is the same management as Tommy, and they were able to connect us up. And it's funny because the Australian was the hardest for us to get.
Really?
As an Australian production, you would think it would be easy to get an Australian guitarist, but he was the last to come on board. So,
wow.
But we were happy to get him, and he was just a consummate professional. Tommy, I could make a documentary about Tommy on his own. He's that He's that good in front of a camera.
Oh, I bet. I mean, that could be an awesome project in itself. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So whereabouts did you get a hold of him?
We got him very easily at the Maton Guitar Factory in Melbourne.
Oh, mate,
The
your
beauty-
hometown.
Yeah, exactly. So we're lucky. We've got a few Melbourne-based guitar companies. Cole Clark Guitars are in Melbourne, and
yeah.
Maton Guitars. So
Excellent.
we've formed great relationships with those two companies.
Oh, that's brilliant. I've had David Stedman on this show, the managing director of Maton, and yeah, he's a great guy, very accessible, very down to earth, and passionate about those guitars. So
I haven't met David, but I hope that I get to meet him.
how about Kaki King? She's great, as I mentioned. I've loved her stuff since what was the film where she was the guitar stunt double? August Rush,
yes,
I think.
That's right, August Rush. Yes.
That's,
Yes, she actually. We have some background, some interview material that's not actually in the film about August Rush.
Oh wow!
And also about the documentary Into the Wild, where she became part of the soundtrack as well.
Oh, brilliant!
So she's got a few stories that were really interesting that didn't make it into the film, but she actually was really insightful. Her take on the history of fingerstyle was one of the most compelling takes in the film.
Okay.
But she's incredible. She's an incredible player, and I think the quote from Dave Grohl is, there are good guitarists, there are great guitarists, and then there's Kaki King. When Dave Grohl says that, you're on something. People like her and Newton Faulkner, who hit the top 10, with some percussive acoustic guitar back. It would have been nearly 10 years ago now. Mm-hmm. So we got Newton on board as well. We're really lucky with this project because it inspires so much passion. This style of playing music, this acoustic solo virtuoso performance art inspires so much passion that people from all over the world volunteered to be involved with the project. We had accommodation offered to us. We had people shooting for us, shooting interviews over in the UK. Somebody did that for us over there. So we're really lucky.
Kaki King, you said she mentioned the history of some of this style. I saw, there's pictures of Michael Hedges in the trailer, and I know Preston Reed was a big influence on Kaki.
Yes.
Yeah, some of those people mentioned in your film as well? Absolutely.
We take it back to, the Robert Johnsons of this world. We look at, the solo acoustic guitar as a performance art. Where did that sort of originate, and what were the cultural underpinnings of why, that way of performance? It's almost come full circle. Blues musicians in the Delta Blues or the Piedmont Blues era were performing to make a living on the street and in juke joints, right? And we now in 2017, it's harder than ever before to make a living as a musician. So these solo acoustic guitarists are kind of become this sort of little symbol of the economic form factor that can be a touring musician. So we go right back to Robert Johnson. We look at Blind Blake and John Fahey and Leo Kottke and all these, and Wyndham Hill played a massive role.
Oh, yeah,
so we try and chart that lineage through. So the documentary is not just a showcase for modern players, but we look at the history and we try and bring it forward from the very humble beginnings of the guitar through to the modern monsters like Don Ross, mm-hmm. John Gomm, Andy McKee.
Yeah, cool, awesome, man. So when you wrap up filming, what's the process then in terms of editing the film, getting contacts to premiere the film, or what's that process like?
It's a very time-consuming one.
Mm-hmm.
So we had hundreds of hours, over 100 hours of material. So we shot and we kept on shooting, and we spoke to hundreds of artists, not hundreds of hours, hundreds of hours, yeah. So we spoke to, all the boot campers. So all the young kids coming up. So there would have been, 40 of those people. And then we spoke to 30 or 40 of the top A-list people. And then we spoke to luthiers and academics. So we had all this material in the editing suite, and we had to make sense out of it, and we had to try and pull a story together. Mm-hmm. So the process was long and exhaustive, and a lot of whiteboarding and a lot of sticky notes and that sort of thing, and pulling together a story. And it was about identifying, the core themes of this and actually writing it. So there was a bit of refinement, and we're still polishing the edit, hours before a cut goes out to a premiere. So, the edit process was time consuming, but enjoyed every moment of it. Yeah, we're now getting into the marketing side of things.
Okay.
Which is a little challenging.
Sure. Man, there's so many facets. I'm the type of guy that at the end of a film, I sit there and I watch all the credits, and I just can't believe how many little jobs there must be to make up the couple of hours I've just spent enjoying. It just seems massive. But again, from the trailer, it just looks so professionally and so lovingly put together. I'm really excited to see it in full for myself.
I look forward to sharing it with everybody.
Yeah. Hey, now tell me about the premiere. That's got to be incredible.
Yes. Well, it's a very exciting time for us. We just premiered in London on Sunday. Not this Sunday just gone, but the Sunday before.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then we had so that was a London premiere at the London Guitar Night at the Troubadour, which is a prestigious guitar institution in London that's had people like Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan and Jimmy Page and things, people like that play there. So that was incredible to be able to premiere there globally.
Yeah.
Wow. We then premiered on Tuesday at the boot camp in Austria at the mountain where the film was birthed. So that was a big moment for us as well. And we've now lined up a series of, we've lined up an unconventional approach to a film distribution strategy where we're not premiering at film festivals, we're premiering at guitar festivals.
Yeah, brilliant.
So we're going direct to the audience, and so far we've lined up eight guitar festivals around the world, which is fantastic. We're so happy to be doing that. So our next premiere is in Canada on the 29th of July.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at the Canadian Guitar Festival in Ontario.
Great.
For any of your Canadian listeners.
Yeah, definitely. We've got some Canadian and very north. Got some friends up in the top of America too, who I'm sure could make the trip.
We're also showing at the Indiana State Fingerstyle Festival on the 29th of July as well, same day.
Awesome.
And then we come back to Australia. We're at the Melbourne Guitar Show on the 5th of August.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. My hometown. I'm so excited to be premiering in Melbourne at the Melbourne Guitar Show.
Yeah, it's cool.
Beyond my wildest dreams. So that's August 6th, I think. August 6th, the Sunday. And it's at the Caulfield Racecourse in Melbourne.
Great. Yeah, that's a great show. I think it's gone from every couple of years. Now it's an annual event, and that's a really, really cool show.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. We're also at the Sydney Guitar Festival, which is amazing as well. This is the inaugural year for the Sydney Guitar Festival, which I think you're involved with.
I will be. Yeah, we will meet up in person there, which will be cool.
That will be fantastic. That's 27th of August.
Yep.
And we're screening there with a performance from Van Larkins, who is a Candy Rat fingerstyle guitarist.
Yeah,
Candy Rat Records, and he's incredible.
Yeah,
he's an incredible musician. So we're excited about that. Joe Robinson is playing after us in the evening.
Yep.
So it's a massive day. There's a lot going on there at the Sydney Guitar Festival.
Absolutely.
And we're really looking forward to that. We're playing at the Concourse. I believe it's the large. It's not the theatre. You mentioned it earlier.
I can't remember what it's called now. The main. It's the main room at the Concourse at Chatswood. Yeah.
In Chatswood. That's correct.
Which is a beautiful room. Michael Fix is playing also after the film.
That's right.
He's on that same bill with Joe Robinson as well.
Yep.
So it should be fantastic, yeah.
Yes, it's incredible. We're over the moon to be invited to screen at these events.
Cool.
From humble beginnings as a Kickstarter project 2 years ago that, 160 people backed us, from 23 countries around the world.
Wow.
Very small beginnings, and now we're touring the world, which is fantastic. It really is. I couldn't have imagined it in my wildest dreams. So we're really excited.
Man, that's awesome, Drew. I'm super stoked for you. Have you gotten to any of these premieres? Did you get to London?
No, unfortunately, I didn't get to London or the boot camp, but I will be at the Melbourne Guitar Show.
Yeah, cool.
And Sydney, obviously. Yeah. And we've got a few other things in the works in Asia that we're not ready to announce yet, but hopefully, because it's a little closer, I can get to those events. So it's all very exciting, and it's all warming up quite nicely.
So, Drew, if people can't get to any of these premieres coming up, how could they end up watching the film?
They can buy the film on Blu-ray, DVD, stream, or download in late October 2017.
Okay,
that's when we're releasing to the wider public. Awesome. So we're a few exclusive events to build a little buzz, and then late October, early November at the latest, we'll be releasing to the masses.
Excellent.
So head to acousticuprisingfilm.com, and there you can sign up and get the updates on all the release information there.
That's cool. That's great. Fantastic. I feel tempted to say what's next, but it just seems like you're on the edge of this wave right now. So,
well, no, actually, I could speak to that. We are going to be running a cinema on demand campaign. So, in parallel with these premieres around the world, we're going to run the guitar festival circuit throughout the year. We'll also be running cinema on demand, which is when fans get on social media and they start a screening and they start hosting an event. And so they can have a screening in their town, whether it's in Colorado or Newcastle. Mm-hmm. So through platforms now like FanForce and these web-based platforms, you can through social media, through the power of social media, you can build a screening seat by seat. So that'll be a big part of what we're doing. And you can go to our website, to get involved with that. If you go to acousticuprisingfilm.com, mm-hmm. Our events page, our screenings page has information on how to get involved.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, that's great. Well, Drew, thank you so much. Really cool to meet you. And as I said, I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person at the Sydney Guitar Festival as well when the Sydney premiere rolls along. And mate, please get in touch as if things unfold for Asia or whatever. We'd love to share any news regarding this amazing looking film.
I'd really appreciate that, listeners. Matt.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Drew.
Thanks.
We'll talk again.
Okay.
Cheers. All right, there's my conversation with filmmaker Drew Rollins. I'm genuinely excited for him and the great stuff going on around the film that he's obviously put his heart and soul into, and it's just a fantastic product. Now, a little bit of info about the Sydney event. It'll be on Sunday, the 27th of August at the beautiful Concourse Theatre in Chatswood. The premiere, for $20 you get to see the premiere of the film, which is great, but there's also the live Q&A and a live performance from Van Larkins, great Australian guitar player, who's actually featured in the film. Now, after the film screening, if you want to hang around, for $35 you get to see the full film event, plus the festival closing jam, which will feature Joe Robinson, one of our guests this year, fantastic guitar player. Michael Fix, another one of our brilliant guests from the Guitar Speak podcast, will be also performing live. And there'll be some other all-star jams featuring the best and biggest from the Sydney Guitar Festival. There's links in our website, guitarspeakpodcast.libsyn.com, that'll direct you to all of that kind of stuff. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, you can subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher or iHeartRadio. And we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter if you want to say hello there as well. Thanks for joining me. My name's Matt Wakeling. You've been listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. Bye now.